How y'all doing? This is your boy Lord Thaddeus Gray. This one is going to be a very interesting one. He's definitely not a cryptid, I'll tell you that. But he's definitely an urban legend and something which is very interesting in its own right. I'm going to be talking about, by request, the Slender Man. I've mentioned him in many of my videos before, but never that I can recall did a video about the Slender Man in general. So that's what this is going to be about. Slenderman was created, I want to say in 2009, by a dude named Eric Knudsen. He also, I think, had like the pen name or something along those lines of Victor Surge. Very interesting to say the least. Very creative individual from what I've seen. I have to admit, he definitely created possibly the first creepypasta or one of the first. I still hate that damn term. But anyway, moving on. To be honest with you, it's very interesting. Supposedly, the Slender Man has an affinity for children and those who are damaged. It's not really known if these are deviant desires or he simply preys on innocence like a carnivore. Like a big cat going after a deer or something like that, or, a fox raiding the hen house, so to speak. I'm not sure, but he seems to be drawn to it. Whatever the case, the Slender Man is very interesting in its own right because he literally embodies fear to a degree. Not quite like Pennywise, but almost in some ways. He seems to feed and generate fear, which is very fascinating in its own right. Of course, everyone knows what the Slender Man looks like. He's a tall dude that basically has no face, wears a suit and tie, supposedly has tentacles coming out of his back. He can hop through dimensions, of course, has razor sharp teeth at times. Naturally very strong, of course. Tentacles speak for themselves. There's even been stories of him having psionic abilities, pyrokinetic powers, just all kinds of very crazy stuff. There's been stories of children being found quite literally hanging in trees and like maybe something like a spider web or silk around them, and they're hanging from the tree, and of course, part of their bodies have been eaten. It's very freaky and creepy, to say the least. I really ain't sure what the hell Mr. Knudsen was channeling, because I do believe he was channeling something. Or he may have just been a very creative dude. Hell, you guys have seen some of the stuff I cook up, so I'm not going to judge the guy by any stretch, I'm just saying. But you also have to be aware there's something going on with that, especially for this one situation to have gained such popularity. That's the only reason I'm saying that. And believe me, I'm not judging nobody, because again, hell, maybe one day one of my creations will become real popular. You just never know. Things just kind of take root on their own. And of course, maybe have a little bit of paranormal help if you know what I'm talking about. But regardless, of course, of course, another thing which is interesting about the Slender Man is he can possess people to a degree. He has what's called proxies, which in itself, of course, is people that do his bidding. That in itself is fascinating in its own, in itself. And of course, I kind of borrowed from that. You guys may know about my story, which is Tanaka's ambition, the character Emiko. Of course, she pays these people and naturally other things. Of course, she's a CEO of a really wealthy company, but at the same time, she has minions that do her work. That's kind of what gave me the idea for that. Was Slenderman was kind of definitely a inspiration for that. How you have minions that do your dirty work. So it's something to think about, you take into consideration, like I said. But also something else is very interesting. Sorry about that. There was a real nasty mess that happened. I want to say in Waukesha, Texas, I think, is where it was. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's where it was. There was a couple of girls that stabbed their best friend to death as a sacrifice of Slender Man. So basically, there's definitely something paranormal with this thing. And also, at the same time, you have to understand something. People are impressionable. I love horror, more than most. Believe me, you guys already know this. But I'm going to tell you right now, some people who are a wee bit unhinged, hell, there's been murderers that were inspired by Dexter, Freddy, Jason. I'm just saying, so it's no surprise that some stupid-ass teenagers were just that dumb who would do this kind of stunt. So I'm just saying. But at the other end, there's also been inspirations of the Slender Man almost being an anti-hero who protects children. So it's very interesting I would say I wouldn't be surprised though some inspiration from the Cthulhu mythos, and of course, if you guys know who that is, H.P. Lovecraft started it, but there was other authors who were part of the kind of same, I guess you could say, writers group. They would take liberties, so it's only natural that would happen. To me, it's fascinating because just how quick this character took off, if you know what I'm talking about. And like I said, I'm not really personally a big fan of the character. I mean, to me, it's not that it's bad by any stretch. I mean, I think it's very interesting, even kind of cool, but it's just not quite my thing. However, it's very interesting to say that Slenderman also has a lot of folkloric uh, attributes to him, which is based on different things from myth. And of course, what I call old world beings. Hell, think about it. Anything, I mean, hell, you got the boogeyman, you have I'm just saying, hell, even the Jinn, which is supposedly able to jump from dimension to another dimension, another realm to another, pyrokinetic abilities. I'm just saying, I mean, hell, even fallen beings seem to have something very similar in description to what the Slender Man looks like. But I also have something else to talk about when it comes to this. People need to understand one thing. There have been sightings, supposedly, of the Slender Man. That in itself is going to be another video I put out, but that in itself is something to really think about. The human mind, I've mentioned this many times, the human mind has the ability to create thought into reality. And you have to understand the human mind is also capable of a great collective generation of mental energy, which can literally create manifestations. And so you have a bunch of kids and individuals who are like minded individuals like myself who like horror and other things. They think about something like this, especially if they're obsessed. They're going to be putting something like that into reality. So I wouldn't be surprised, or maybe even have some kind of demonic entity that feeds on fear. And we all know those things do exist. The disembodied spirits of the giants. I'm just saying, they might even be glad. I mean, hell, think about it. They're going to take the form of something that terrifies the shit out of you, or that you're obsessed with, to feed off of your reaction. So that's something else to think about. Hell, look at I think it was Alan Moore. I think that was his name. Don't get me wrong, but I think he was. He had. I think it was Alan Moore. Don't quote me on this, but he had. But it was a dude that had a serious inspiration in the creation of Constantine, John Constantine. Of course, everyone knows who John Constantine is, right? And supposedly, one of this, the creator or one of the co-creators or whatever is at a bar and he sees a dude in a trench coat which looks exactly like Constantine, wink at him, and walk out of the bar. My point is, people don't understand just how powerful manifestations of the mind are, as well as spiritual manifestations or even other kind of things which are connected to such things. That is what I really want to really put out there, just how powerful the imagination can be, for good or for bad. Just wanted to put this out there. I ain't really got much more to say on this, like I said, but this, I think, hopefully will at least put some kind of information out there, which maybe you knew or maybe you didn't, when it comes to things like the Slender Man. But either way, I figured I should put this out there. And at least for right now, you guys know what I do. I'm the producer for Dark Waters Entertainment. If you've had a cryptid encounter or a supernatural one, hit me up. My email is wesvic@imdarkwaters.com. You guys be blessed and you be safe.